In Formula One, we put on race weekends of the size, scale and spectacle rivaling the biggest events in the world 24 times a year. So moving the entire sport across the world isn't just about packing a few boxes. DHL transport up to 1,200 tons of equipment worth millions of dollars for every race, which are shipped using a mix of sea, air and land transport. Known as multimodal freight solutions, these are decided upon depending on location. For the 2025 season, there are 9 races in Europe and 15 flyaways, with F1's logistics partner on hand to cater to all. It truly is a symphony of coordination where the race behind the race balances speed, cost and sustainability for the ultimate global calendar. Sea freight is slowest, but is far more sustainable for flyaways. It's typically used for bulkier items which are non-critical to race performance, such as garages and fan zones. Teams typically ship 5 to 6 sets of identical containers via sea, allowing for rotation across the calendar, with freights leapfrogging across the globe. For example, the sea freight for the race in China shipped straight to Miami, while the freight that was used in Japan went to Singapore and Baku, as well as to a host of different teams' factories across Europe to further work on dedicated parts. F1 is now much more reliant on sea freight than ever before, reducing the carbon footprint of the championship. Air freight is faster and necessary for shorter turnarounds. It's reserved for critical items such as the cars, as well as sensitive IT and broadcast equipment, which is a vital part of an F1 race and has top priority getting to the next race destination in time for setup. Road freight is another vital part of the logistics network. For European races, almost all cargo is transported this way, and with up to 400 trucks on the road at a time, often with multiple drivers on board to ensure constant movement, equipment can be moved quickly in large convoys in a more sustainable way. All these transport methods have 4 crucial considerations. Speed. Can this cargo get to the desired location, often across the world, in time? Volume. In a paddock that continues to grow, which heavier items can go by sea, where freight is much cheaper and more sustainable, rather than by air? Cost. Can multiple modes be deployed that keep costs down, allowing teams to spend more time working on parts rather than moving them? Sustainability. Most importantly, does our freight decision help fulfill F1's net zero carbon target by 2030? Logistics planning starts a year in advance and meticulous detail is required for every weekend. For the 2025 season opener in Melbourne, sea freight was stored in Qatar and shipped 42 days in advance to the race, while air freight arrived 10 days before. If races are separated by 2 weeks or more, there's a window of 10 days for travel and transit. But for the 3 triple headers, where 3 Grand Prix take place on successive weekends and 5 double headers on the 2025 calendar, there are far more logistical challenges, particularly when different time zones are involved. In these instances, each team elects their most important air freight containers to arrive at the next Grand Prix first, and those are then prioritised for travel. Much of the freight is already packed up before Sunday's race, such as spare parts and engines that won't be used. And the track begins to empty hours after the wheel-to-wheel action ends. By 10 o'clock the next day, all air freight cargo has usually left. The cargo is placed in the pit lane at the next track, but in order to maintain control over the supply chain, no team is allowed to start unloading until the last team's freight has reached the circuit, usually on a Tuesday. By 6 p.m. on Wednesday, all freight must be cleared from the pit lane, while work continues in the garages to ensure everything is fully operational and ready for the weekend. As soon as one race ends, the next begins. It's where precision and planning come into play. Speed, efficiency and adaptability. Just like in an F1 race, logistics is about gaining every second. As ever, there are several tricks of the trade to keep the show on the road. In the modern world, artificial intelligence has become more and more prevalent. F1's official logistics partner DHL is integrating AI into its planning processes to optimize routes by forecasting potential travel disruptions such as weather or strikes. Real-time tracking is also being developed for air and sea freight, while all trucks in the European DHL fleet are equipped with GPS to monitor fuel consumption and optimize routes for maximum efficiency. Some locations, meanwhile, pose unique challenges. Take Monaco, where hospitality and broadcast procedures go into overdrive, but where narrow streets make access as tough as it is to win Sunday's race. Here, hundreds of trucks must park outside the city's boundaries in 3 holding bays, but are called into Monte Carlo vehicle by vehicle, with only a very small number allowed into the city at a time. This one-in, one-out process is difficult before the weekend, and even more so after the race, when crowds disperse onto the streets. But the impossible is always made possible by DHL, through close collaboration with F1, Automobile Club de Monaco, and the team. For the Las Vegas Grand Prix, air, sea and land freight solutions are all utilised. Due to the unique surroundings of Vegas, a holding yard is set up and trucks are called in sequential order to prevent bottlenecks and traffic issues. Hundreds of trucks pass through this in year 1 and 2. Then there's the paperwork. Some countries have complex customs processes requiring multiple clearances. In China, even something as simple as fuel needs special approval. In Europe, hundreds of carnets, documents that help facilitate the importation and export of goods, are required for every European race, even for the smallest of components. We have also seen unique external factors threaten to disrupt the F1 calendar, where split-second execution is essential. In 2022, amid a global pandemic, 3 teams were caught in a web of sea freight delays for the Australian Grand Prix due to a backlog in Singapore. On this occasion, DHL swiftly deployed 3 of its own air freighters, a team of 100 people working around the clock to deliver all 150 tons of cargo on the Monday before the race. For races in the Middle East, Jeddah Port has recently been used as a gateway to avoid the Red Sea, with trucks sent across the region for the various races. The regionalisation of the calendar, such as shifting the Japanese Grand Prix earlier in the season, before a European heavy summer and hitting the Americas in the autumn, has helped more races use multiple modes of transportation, which aids with contingency plans as well as sustainability measures. Sustainability is a key player in F1 logistics, and with a commitment to reaching net zero by 2030, F1 are transforming how freight moves with DHL. The fleet of biofuel-powered trucks for European races has been increased, now also delivering renewable energy equipment such as solar panels and battery energy storage systems from 2025 onwards. These trucks run on HVO 100 second-generation biofuel, which slash carbon emissions compared to diesel. In the air, DHL's fuel-efficient Boeing 777 fleet is reducing carbon emissions by around 17% compared to older cargo planes, making global freight transport more efficient than ever. And then there's Sustainable Aviation Fuel, or SAF. By switching to SAF for Formula One's charter flights, DHL is cutting carbon emissions. By combining cutting-edge logistics with greener solutions, F1 and DHL is proving that speed and sustainability can go hand in hand. The challenge? Keeping up with a season that never slows down. With time the biggest all-round challenge, what does a season look like in motion? Let's follow the freight in 2025. Australia marks the first big test after the official testing in Bahrain. With the longest transit times, different modes of freight transport, and biggest time zone shifts, teams work around the clock to get everything ready.
The new season is underway and we're racing to turn number 1.
On Sunday, freight is packed up, some straight to China by air and some by sea to go back to Europe, as well as Singapore, Canada and even Qatar. After China, the first triple header of the year takes us to Japan, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, with multiple modes of transport. Japan picks up air freight coming in from China thanks to its convenient location. For Bahrain, sea freight is shipped from Europe to Jeddah and then moved by road. But here's where it gets interesting. Because of tight timelines, there isn't enough time to truck equipment from Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. Instead, parts of F1's broadcast equipment, around 65 tons of it, are leapfrogged from Japan to Saudi Arabia by air. To make it all work, the triple header relies on 3 separate sets of sea freight rotating through the schedule. Over 7,000 miles away, Miami was next to welcome the F1 circus into town, with sea freight arriving from China, Australia and the UK, and air freight from Saudi Arabia.
Oscar Piastri wins the Miami Grand Prix. 3 Grand Prix victories in a row.
To make these sea freight routes work on time, containers were shipped from Shanghai and Melbourne to the west coast of the US at Long Beach, then trucked across the country to Miami in just 3 days. The first European races of the season begin in Imola, before heading into the iconic streets of Monaco and then on to Barcelona. The majority of freight arrives via land, from team factories and regional hubs. The relatively short 500-kilometre distance between Imola and Monaco makes truck movements far simpler than many other sectors. But the logistical challenges of accessing Monaco, with its tight streets and limited infrastructure, ultimately negate any transportation time savings. Imola, one of F1's classic Grand Prix circuits, brings its own challenges. Though it's a permanent racetrack, it's nestled within a town and offers limited space, making it difficult to accommodate the nearly 400 trucks needed for setup and de-rig. By the time the paddock reaches Barcelona, the third race in a triple header, extra manpower is brought in to relieve team members who have been on the road for over 3 weeks. A brief pause to the European season comes in the shape of the Canadian Grand Prix. Freight arrives from Miami by road and from the UK and Europe by sea, with one kit equipment flown in from Barcelona. Teams are up against the clock, having to quickly pack up in Barcelona, return equipment to their factories, reconfigure it from European to flyaway mode, and deliver it to European departure airports by the Friday after the Spanish Grand Prix. Montreal's Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, located on an island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, brings its own set of challenges. With space at a premium, freight arrival and departure must be meticulously planned. From China, sea freight travels to Miami via the west coast before being trucked directly to Canada right after the Miami Grand Prix. After the race, freight is sent on to Austin in a similar way. Looking to the future, using trains is being explored as a more sustainable option for the North American leg of the season. The trucks hit the road once again, heading for the hills of Spielberg and the iconic Silverstone circuit.
In 2025, it's Norris's name on the trophy.
This leg includes the longest drive of the European calendar, involving a channel crossing into the UK. Despite the distance, it all has to be completed in the shortest turnaround time, due to the back-to-back race schedule. After a 3-week interlude, we head down to Spa and across to Budapest before the official 4-week summer break. And a trip to Zandvoort and then Monza before the 8-race countdown to the end of the season overseas. Following the race in Monza, all equipment heads back to the factories across the UK and Europe for sorting, work and repacking before arriving in Azerbaijan for round 17. Sea freight arrives in Singapore from Saudi Arabia or Europe, with air freight arriving from Azerbaijan.
Charles Leclerc is able to get ahead. Entertaining battle between these two.
After the race, the sea freight heads off to Qatar for the second to last race of the season. The journey from Austin to Mexico City spans roughly 940 miles, but the logistics are far from simple. While the F1 cars and all other technical equipment are flown in as part of the usual air freight operation, the team and broadcast freight comes via a dedicated set of sea containers shipped directly from the UK and Europe. Meanwhile, the Paddock Club-related freight makes the overland trip from Austin by road. These layered logistics reflect the added customs complexity around this sector, making it one of the more intricate freight movements of the season. The F1 circuit hits its 5th continent of the season in South America for the Brazil race.
The Sao Paulo Grand Prix is underway.
Apart from Brazil, the majority of the races in the back end of the calendar, a mix of sea freight, air and road freight, will need to work intricately to meet the demands of the calendar. From Brazil, the season moves on to the bright lights of Las Vegas. With 21 races down, there is one final push needed to deliver the last 3 races of the calendar year. Las Vegas is a Saturday night race, which plays a critical role in the logistics puzzle. That one-day shift means air freight can arrive in Qatar by Tuesday morning, just in time to begin setup. If Vegas ran on a traditional Sunday schedule, the 10-hour time difference would make a back-to-back turnaround with Qatar impossible. It takes around 20 hours of pure flying time from Las Vegas to Doha. Fortunately, 777 aircraft can handle the journey with just one technical stop for refueling. That efficiency is crucial, especially with freight moving across 8,000 miles in what is the season's longest quick turnaround. The 777s also produce fewer emissions compared to older models, making them a more sustainable option for this high-pressure leg of the season. Sea freight for Las Vegas is moved by road from Austin, while Qatar's sea freight originates from Singapore. Abu Dhabi, the season finale, receives its sea freight from Azerbaijan. From the deserts of Qatar to the twilight finish in Abu Dhabi, this final leg represents a remarkable feat of global coordination to close out the season.
McLaren are world champions of 2024.
After 24 races, it all comes down to the final showdown. The mission for F1 and DHL: deliver every piece of equipment on time, intact, and ready for the ultimate race. The work by no means stops there, of course, with preparations already underway for the following year. The off-season is the shortest it's ever been in Formula One, and with an all-new team in Cadillac, there is added strain on planning and workload for 2026. From the moment the first piece of cargo sets off to the final piece of equipment being unpacked, F1's logistics network is a masterclass in coordination, precision, and efficiency. Every race weekend is a global challenge, with thousands of personnel playing a part in transporting crucial kit over sea, air, and land to deliver the ultimate sporting spectacle, whatever the circumstances. And there's no slowing down. As we continue our journey towards becoming net zero by 2030, we're constantly exploring new innovations to make our travel greener, proving speed and sustainability can coexist. For over 20 years, F1 and DHL have pushed the frontier forward in creating the sport we love, allowing our drivers and teams to shine when it matters most. It's what we do best. Race after race after race.